Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another great edition of Monday Night Muscle. I'm joined by Hall of Famer Sugar Sean Ray. And who better to bring on the show? We got to catch up with the one and only Branch Warren. What's up, the Texas Titan in the house?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
All right, Big Branch, you're out there in Texas. We know that Texas, we were talking a minute ago, just got hit with a whole lot of snow. From the West Coast on the beaches, it looks really bad out there. How bad is it for you?
It got pretty cold, man. I mean, it was below freezing for about 12 days where I lived. We got, 8, 9, 10 inches of snow. Got some ice. It was like 3 storms back to back, an ice storm and 2 snowstorms, and just caught us pretty good. And, we're, some parts of the country laugh at what we went through, but, the difference is in Texas, we're not prepared for that.
Yeah.
Sub-zero temperatures or sub-freezing temperatures for, almost 2 weeks straight. So had a lot of us, had some power issues and some, pipes and stuff freezing up in people's houses and causing a lot of damage. So it's been interesting to say the least. The other problem is, you get 10 inches of snow on the ground, and then with the wind, snow drifts get deep. We don't have snow plows, so roads become impassable, and so it was an interesting 2 weeks to say the least.
Yeah.
Well, Branch, as somebody who's eaten many, many meals with you, I know the food supply was going to run out quickly there. So I'm guessing that you're going to be living on beef jerky for the remainder of the ice age over there.
Nah, man, I never ran out of food, bro. No better than that. So
listen, let me tell you something, Sean. All right, me and Branch have done some epic eating battle. This guy puts me to shame.
Yeah,
we've actually gone to steakhouses, all right, where he's ordered not 1 but 2 steak meals.
I'm surprised he didn't kill the damn cow. This guy's an avid hunter.
Listen, Branch can tell you about that, but I mean, there's, believe me, he kills everything he eats anyways and all that stuff. But now, I assume now that your competition days are behind you, Branch, that the eating has gone down a little bit because you used to pack some food, man.
I ate probably 4 meals a day.
Yeah.
And, I've lost, 30, 40 pounds from when I was competing. So I feel great, and most importantly, I'm healthy. You know how y'all guys know how it is. When you're training, you train to win, right? That's why you train.
Sure.
So you train with pain, you train with injuries, you do whatever it takes to get to that show and win. And once that's behind you, then I train now to be healthy. And number 1, stay healthy.
Yeah.
So
was that hard for you to get into? I mean, listen, as everybody knows, you and Johnny and all your partners, as hardcore as they come, banging down the walls, throwing stuff down, Metroflex, all that kind of stuff. So was it tough to transition out, and did it take you a while to get into that, out of the mindset of, okay, I don't have to pick up the 200-pound dumbbells now?
Yeah, it was actually for that first, I think the first year that I was, after I retired. Johnny was still competing. We were still training together. So honestly, that first year, nothing really changed for me. He was still competing, and I was still training with him. And so, we've been doing the same thing for so long. It just was natural. And then after that, we didn't train together for, about a year or so. And I had a shoulder surgery that I'd been putting off for quite some time. Had a little scope done to clean it up. And so we didn't train together. And then we were actually together in China doing a little 2-week tour there, and we started training together. And he had retired. He got the itch to come back, and after training together for 2 weeks, we came back and kept training. He called me and he said, "Hey, man, I'm gonna make a comeback. Will you train with me?" I'm like,
"Oh man."
Yeah, I'm like, I ain't gonna say no. He's my boy, right? So
right.
I'm like, yeah. So, after taking it pretty easy for an extended period of time, I got back into it, and helped him get ready for a couple shows.
Any injuries on that journey? Because you're starting, you're stopping, you're starting, you're stopping, and now you're doing championship training. Did you get hurt along that way?
No, not at all. Because even though we stepped up the intensity and everything, and I went a little bit heavier than what I've been going, I still didn't even come close to what I used to do. There's no point in it, right? So, and I don't want any more injuries. So I was there just to push him for the most part, and keep the intensity up, and just the heavy weight and all that, the super heavy weight and all that. That's what them young guys.
Isn't it interesting?
Done that. I'm done with it.
It's the segue from that championship training that you did for yourself, and then you have that little break, and then you got to go back into that to help someone else, and then that ship sails. Isn't it around that time that you actually discover life, like life just happens suddenly? You got the daughter,
sure.
You got the wife, you got the business, and that kind of starts to consume you more than the championship training?
When you're competing, speaking for myself, I'll say this, I think most bodybuilders, I think you guys will probably agree, when you're a pro bodybuilder and you're competing for the Mr. Olympia title, Arnold Classic title, those big titles, you become a very selfish, self-centered person.
Right.
Because it's all about you. It's about your training. It's about your diet. It's about your cardio. It's about your posing. It's me, me, me all day long. You take. And at the end of the day, there ain't much to get back.
Right.
And, and if you have a family, that's a hard thing to do when, because you got to be a father and to be a good husband, you got to give.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you got to give more than you receive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a hard thing to do, to balance those two. And so since I retired, I knew I was that way because that's just the nature of our sport.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really realize how self-centered and selfish I was until after I retired. And then I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And since then I've become a much better father and a much better husband. And just because now I don't put myself first all the time.
Yeah, we call that being domesticated. We call it being domesticated. I made the analogy, it's like coming back from war. Because when I was training like yourself, Branch and Bob, it was like you're at war, not only against the weights and your competitors, but with yourself, because you're doing things you don't want to do. You're doing them at a time that you don't want to actually do it. You know it's eat or be eaten. Kevin Levrone used to sleep with like guns in his room. I mean, he took it to the next level. I don't know, he's kind of crazy. But then you come home from that war and it's a totally different mindset, and you've got to bob and weave and adapt and kind of find where do you belong, how do you fit in, and all of these things you just talked about the selfishness. It's like you're peeling back all of those layers and you're becoming domesticated. Can you imagine now someone calls you and says, Branch, you're going to compete this October in the Mr. Olympia. It's like going back to war. And suddenly you've got to become this machine all over again. And for some people, we just never seen a successful comeback to that mindset.
I think two things. I think with age and the responsibilities you get, as most men get, with the families and things like this, once you step away from that mindset, I don't know if you could ever get back to 100% of that mindset. We've seen time and time again guys try to make comebacks, and they never go well. Right. I think it's a combination of age and just that mindset of once you step out of it, I think it's almost, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I haven't seen anybody who was able to get back to that mindset and be successful with a comeback once they've been out of it.
Well, Branch, you and I have had a chance to catch up on a couple of occasions on life post-competing. I want to get into that in just a few minutes. Right now we're going to take our first commercial break. Back with Branch Warren in just a moment. And we're back with the Texas Titan himself, Branch Warren. Branch, just before the break, I alluded to some conversations you and I had just over this past year or so about post-competition, not just training, but life in itself. And I asked you, so Branch, do you miss the stage? Is there any chance you're ever going to get back on? And you were pretty adamant in your answer.
Nah, man, I'm good. I think when I get asked that question pretty frequently, by fans and people I know, and I'm good, man. I did everything I wanted to do. I had a 15-year career as a professional bodybuilder, and several years as an amateur before that. So I think when you did everything you set out to do, and you gave 100%, and in your heart you did everything you could do, and when you step away, you're good. I think if you didn't accomplish what you wanted to accomplish, and you didn't give 100%, if you knew in your heart you left something on the table, then and you could have given more, then I think you have regrets. And I think that's people. I think that's why sometimes guys they want to go back because they got some unfinished business they want to take care of. My case, I'm good, man.
Let's talk about some of the business that you did take care of on the stage, because you're an unlikely success story. Because I saw you back when you did the teenage national championships with Jay Cutler. Yep. Did you know that?
Yeah,
a little piece of history.
97.
93.
93.
Oh, I'm way off.
And that was that's when we saw the coming of Flex Wheeler in his first Olympia get second place out there. And so you were coming up in the teenage ranks, so known for your legs. Your legs were way ahead of everything else, and you carried that throughout your career. But I didn't think anybody saw you as being as successful as you were. But yet every time I heard you speak, you almost sounded like you were Mr. Olympia, even when you weren't. And that carried you on to a couple of Arnold Classic championships, a first runner-up to your nemesis, Jay Cutler. I mean, you guys were right there as teenagers. And getting the sniff of almost getting first place. What was that like? You're one of those guys that, an unlikely source to be challenging for the Olympia title, if you're looking at it through a wide lens, you were one of the guys that weren't supposed to be there, but yet there you were, and every year thereafter, I mean, you were challenging for that title, and it didn't start out that way on the Olympia, but it wound up that way. What was it like getting second to Jay at that Olympia championship? Because that was the same year you won the Arnold.
Yeah, so as you know, the worst place in bodybuilding, the worst place, I don't care what show it is, what you're talking about, is second place in Mr. Olympia competition.
Right.
I would have rather gotten fifth than second.
Right.
Because that's the one thing, everyone in this conversation right now has dreamed about being on that stage, being under the last two, and being the last man standing on the stage, being Mr. Olympia, right? Anybody who's ever competed, everybody who's ever trained, or even thought about competing, you dream about being Mr. Olympia. And so you've beaten everybody on the planet, except for that one last person, and you get named called in second. It's like the most bittersweet moment in my whole career. You're so close, and you do everything you can do, and you're probably in the best shape of your life, and you're still one person short. And it's a bitter pill to swallow. So yeah, it sucks. Now,
but you did beat Jay. You did beat Jay in head-to-head competition at some point, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
But
not on the big stage.
It's all about Olympia, as you know.
Yeah.
It's all about putting it all together and making it happen on that day. And that was, I think arguably my best condition ever. That and the 2011 Arnold were my two best conditionings. I think my weight was the exact same both shows, but it wasn't meant to be. But that being said, man, I couldn't have trained no harder. I couldn't have died any harder. I did everything I could do. And sometimes 100% ain't enough. Sometimes you need 102%. And it just is what it is. And sometimes it's so close. Those 9 guys sitting in front of you, guys and girls, they make that decision. And sometimes it's just, you get a different set of guys, you might have a different outcome sometimes.
Let's be honest, though. You did lose to a Hall of Fame bodybuilder that has 4 Olympia championships that beat Ronnie Coleman. You didn't lose to a slouch.
This is a unique opportunity because I got both of you guys here. Both of you were runner-ups in the Olympia. All right? Both of you this close to that title. So, question to both of you. We'll start with you, Branch. After you took second place, like you said, that's the worst spot to be in your mind. You would have taken 5th, anything else, but second, you're that close. What was the mindset at? Did it take some of the wind out of your sails afterwards? Did it motivate you that I was this close, so I'm going to really push it for the next one? Like, where did it put you mentally after that?
Man, Monday afternoon, I was back in the gym training for 2010. That's what it did to me, because that wasn't, suffering setbacks in my career. I just did what I wasn't supposed to ever do, right? I wasn't even supposed to be a pro bodybuilder, or damn sure not supposed to win a pro show or make it to Olympia, and I sure wasn't supposed to be a contender one spot away from winning the Olympia, So I was, the one thing I was really good at in my career was taking adversity and turning it into a positive. Going back to what you were saying, Sean, I beat so many guys I should have never beaten.
Yeah.
I mean, you had guys like Phil, Jay, Dennis Wolf, Kai, the list
Dexter.
goes on and on.
Yeah.
These guys are great bodybuilders, and I should have never beaten a lot of them. I beat them because I learned very early on that I could outwork a lot of them. Some of the guys that they relied on their shape or their genetics to get them through. And if I didn't have that ability. I knew I could put on a lot of muscle, and I knew I could get really hard. Usually I could get harder if I tried than everybody else. So the combination of muscle, density, and conditioning saw me through in a lot of those battles. And you take somebody like Phil Heath. I mean, that guy's one of the most gifted bodybuilders in the history of our sport. And I beat Phil Heath before because I just came in harder than him, So I knew I got there because I willed myself to get there in a lot of ways, because I was willing to do what other guys weren't in the gym and, with nutrition, things like this, to push myself to get there. And another thing is, when people, they told me when I was a kid, he'll never be pro. When I turned pro, he'll never win a pro show. But think about this. And I know you guys are critics. I'll do a lot of commentary and stuff. But who has the right to what man has the right to tell another man he can't do something? Mm-hmm. You don't. Anybody, I've seen it time and time again, critics and, self-proclaimed experts and gurus, they put somebody down, not just bodybuilding, but any sport. They say, that kid doesn't have it, he'll never make it. Well, how do you know? And what you said, you might have just give that kid more fire fuel to his fire to get where he wants to be. I mean, Michael Jordan didn't make the high school basketball team.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day,
Great point.
like the asshole, not him.
Yeah,
So,
and I think
Sean, hang on. I can't let you off the hook on this one because I'm interested. You're at a slightly different point in your career, but very similar. But you were second place.
Yes.
What was your mindset the day? Like I say, were you discouraged? Like, that's as close as I'm going to get, or is it I'm charging forward? I'm going to win this next year.
I think it was a little different than what Branch experienced. I mean, 1994, I was like 28 years old, so I still had my whole life ahead of me. I was not even close to contemplating like this was the great disappointment. I knew, because I came from 5th place to 4th place to 3rd place to 2nd place in that order.
Right.
And so when I got 2nd, I was licking my chops saying, I'll be back next year, and you just assume you're so young that there'll be other bites at the apple. And of course, the following year, 95, I dropped down to 4th place. And it was at that moment that I kind of thought, is this the end? Am I ever going to get back there again? And of course, I did get back there in 96, and Dorian Yates was still Mr. Olympia. I was a little bit different economizing that than Branch was, because I kind of knew as long as Dorian was there, it didn't matter. It was going to be Dorian's show. And then ultimately when Ronnie Coleman leapfrogged over everyone in 98, after 2 or 3 years of being behind Ronnie, I knew that nobody was going to take Ronnie out. So I packed up my bags and I left. I was barely 36 years old like the day after that. So I didn't feel the weight of it that maybe Branch did, because I had a lot of irons in the fire that I thought I could kind of manage. I'm second in the world. It sucks, but I'll be back. And when I got second the second time, I kind of felt what Branch was feeling, but it was still, I had a lot of gas in the tank. This was 1996. I didn't retire until 2001. But things were changing for me, and opportunity was coming my way, and I was working with lots of different companies, which afforded me only to compete once a year. And when I recognized, I believe it was like 97 when Nasser got second and I wound up in third, and of course Dorian won. That's when I kind of started using the moniker, the business of bodybuilding. For me, it became a business. Sure. It wasn't so much about winning again, because I got as close as I could. And it seemed like the giants were coming in. I mean, remember, we're ushering in Paul Dillette and Jean-Pierre Fuchs and Nasser Al-Sambadi.
Sure.
I mean, I thought my window was gone. 96, my window was gone. I still had Flex and Kevin.
Yeah.
And Vince Taylor and Chris Cormier.
The landscape was clearly changing.
It was changing. So I was adapting to it, and I started thinking more in the business sense. And I wasn't hunting for that Sandow trophy. I think in hindsight, 2020, when I look back, of course, like Branch, of course, like every second place finisher, Labrada, and even Victor Martinez, who very few people talk about getting second place. Right. We all look over at our trophies and our awards, and we see the one that's not there. And we can economize in our head why it should be there and why it's not there, and it's always that thing in your craw. The only thing that makes me find comfort is there's only 16 Mr. Olympias in the history, 56 years. And like Branch caught the tail end of our career, you and I have been there for how many decades watching these people come up and win. I find comfort in knowing that I was there more so than not winning. Look, Dorian, Lee Haney, and Ronnie Coleman, those were my 3 Olympias throughout my era.
Hey, good luck.
I'm in good company. Nobody beat them. Flex didn't get one, Kevin didn't get one. So I'm in good company knowing that I didn't win, but neither did they.
Well, Branch, talk about the business of bodybuilding, and certainly you'd be at the one of the heads of that list, taking a page out of Sean's notebook. So I want to get into your business stuff, but I got one story I want to kind of revisit with you in just a moment. We're going to take another quick commercial break. Back with Branch Warren in just a moment.
You diet down, train hard, and supplement smart for months. When the time comes to step on stage, don't leave your tan to chance. Go with the pros. Pro Tan. #1 worldwide since 1987 and the official sponsor of the Olympia for the last 15 years. Don't step on stage without it. Pro Tan.
All right, back with Sugar Sean and Branch Warren, finally making his debut on Monday Night Muscle. So Branch, I want to get into your business stuff because it's very extensive, and you've always balanced business, legit business, as you had other businesses away from bodybuilding. With a bodybuilding career and a wife who's a pro and was competing at the same time. So a lot to juggle. But I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up this story. So it was one of your last Olympias. I don't remember exactly which year, you will. But and I think you ended up taking like 5th or somewhere in that range. And we've been close friends for many, many years. I know you've always valued my opinion and was never afraid to ask it. I was never afraid to give it to you. But I remember we bumped into each other and you says, all right, bro, so, you weren't too pleased, obviously, with the placing, but you said, let me get your opinion. And you did not like what I had to say.
Yeah, I think that was 2014, I think.
Yeah, that's probably, that sounds about
I
right.
did one more Olympia I did in 2015. Was my last Olympia. So I
What'd you ask him?
What do you think? And you laid it out, and I wasn't happy. I was pissed, and because I disagree very strongly with your.
After the Olympia? Was this after the Olympia?
This is right. Yeah, we're still at the Olympia.
Okay.
So we're it's like I don't know, Saturday afternoon or something.
Yeah,
right.
It's before the finals.
Correct. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I asked you, I remember I walked up to Bob and I said, "What do you think?" And he said, "Man, I think you're gonna be 5th place." And I was like, I was not happy.
Yeah, I know.
I vehemently disagreed with him. And he, I thought I was going to be second, third, somewhere in there battling.
What'd you get?
And I think, I conceded Phil was probably going to walk away, win the day.
Okay.
But, beyond that, I thought I was going to be up there. And he said, no, you're going to be 5th. And we went back and forth for a while.
Yeah.
What place did you get, Branch?
5th.
Yeah.
Okay, well, one of the things, let me give you some advice. Don't ever ask him anything when you're competing because it's not going to help you.
Well, listen, I mean, like I say, because we've been close friends for years.
Yeah, you had to tell him the truth.
Oh, yeah,
What you thought.
and I know you always respected that,
Yeah.
from our relationship.
Only one way to live,
I wasn't
yeah.
going to sugarcoat it.
Right.
No offense. I wasn't going to, blow smoke up. We've never had that relationship. I know you didn't like it, but it was the truth.
And I would have told you don't ask because you don't need to know.
Well, this is what's...
I violated my own rule because I never asked.
I know, right?
But I never ask anybody.
But this is this is the reason I bring this up, though, because in my rationale to, if you remember the rest of when I was trying to explain it to you, when the smoke stopped coming out of your ears, was that in comparison. Now, this is when it started to change over a little bit. Mm-hmm. When Jay was there, you had a great person there as the champ because you compared very well with Jay.
Right.
And so my rationale was, well, look, you got Dexter, you got Phil, I don't remember who else was in it here, maybe Kai or somebody or whoever. I go, bro, here's the bottom line.
He's the odd man out.
You look great, but you're the odd man out. You don't match the rest of the guy. So as critics, as you know, it's never an easy job, Branch, but hopefully we can get you in the critics chair at one of these shows to you can finally get in our shoes of getting critique on guys. Yeah. Always fun. But that was my mentality, though, of matching up. What do you think about that now as you reflect back and you look at it? Is there any truth to the matchup with whoever it is you're on stage is helping you or hurting you?
I understood what you were saying later. At the time, I thought you were so full of BS.
He's a jerk.
I ain't gonna talk to you right there.
There it is.
Afterwards, the show was over and I went back and looked at pictures and video, and I'm like, I got what you were saying.
Yeah.
Because I did match up very well against Jay. A lot of physiques. The Phils, the Kais, Dexter. I beat all those guys before, but it was under different circumstances, and the landscape, like you said, was beginning to change in the sport. And I got what you're saying, and then I had somebody else actually that next week after the show told me the same thing, and somebody else I respected, and they told me the same thing, and I didn't solicit their opinion, but they're a good friend, and they gave it to me anyway, and I said, yeah, well, somebody else. I said, Bob told me the same thing at the show, and I think that is, I think yes, unless you're Dorian, and you can step on stage, like in '92 or whatever it was, and you look so good, you just walk away with it, or. Dorian did not have a good-looking physique. It was an ugly physique, but he was so big and hard. Man, I think he lost 2 shows in his entire career. Haney and Muhammad.
Interestingly, if you guys,
he was the odd man out. You look at Sean and Flex and Chris and all the guys. Dorian was always the odd man out.
Yes,
but he still was able to win. In my case, it was a different scenario where, I think me and Jay being in the show was good for both of us. When he was out. Then it was just me there, and even Wolf. I had a totally different physique than Wolf. Wolf matched up pretty well against those guys where I didn't. So that's why I was you got a whole bunch of, like you say, apples, and I was the orange, and so you're either going to be at the front of the pack or the back of the pack.
Branch, I watched you win many shows. I watched you win out in Texas. I remember we were over in England, over at the NEC building. You won the British Grand Prix. I think we had dinner that night. I actually watch you almost meet your wife, fall in love, make a baby, and you create this whole different world for yourself. It's crazy how you see them competing and then they're retired and they have a family and
You
they
were
move
there
on.
when they were making babies?
No, not when you were making babies, but like when you guys kind of like met and you guys kind of evolved.
It got a little weird there for a minute.
I mean, because they're both in the industry.
But
right?
I know you're close.
No, I wasn't in the room. But I remember when he was having his first kid and all that other stuff. It's crazy to see.
Had you guys switched years, you would have had much better shots of winning. If you were going up against Phil and you were going up against Dorian, you would have had each way better chances of winning the Olympia.
Yeah, those are different eras. But to watch a guy come into the game and then watch him be at the top of the charts and then retire and go on into the next phase of life. We've witnessed that with many pro bodybuilders commentating. And one of the things I've always said is don't ask. You don't want to know the opinion of anybody while you're in the throes of your contest until the contest is over, because the opinion's not going to help you when you get on the stage. Maybe the only thing you could ask for is, hey, is there anything I can do to be more competitive at the finals? But you don't want to know anyone's opinion on where they have you placed. But watching you win all those shows around the world, because like you said, some of them, like a lot of us didn't have you winning shows because you just didn't have the right look, but you came in with that hard, grainy muscularity and you stood out. It was like you're always brought back to this big chunk of muscle. That stuff didn't come by doing high repetitions. You were training with one of the world's strongest bodybuilders in Johnny Jackson. I'm not sure if you threw some weights around with Ronnie Coleman, but out in Texas, man, you guys were not messing around, and the photo shoots showed that. I remember the pictures we saw. You guys threw around some pretty heavy stuff out there. Did you ever fear the weights? Because by the time I retired, I was afraid to go heavy. I didn't want to end my career with an injury because I'm training too heavy. I refined it and I went a little bit lighter, higher repetitions, but you look like you never took your foot off the gas.
Did I ever fear the weights?
Yeah.
No, never. I never was afraid of it. I think, I knew what I was capable of. And, there was days when I'd go at it and try to, push the envelope and do something I hadn't done before. But I never feared the weights.
Yeah.
And, now once I retired, then there was no point there's no need to push like that. Because, age combination with that kind of training, you will get hurt eventually. And, all my injuries pretty much were suffered outside the gym. I never really got hurt in the gym. So, training with Johnny was a blessing. The things he was stronger than me on were my weaknesses, and vice versa. So we complemented each other very well, and I think that was I don't know if I'd have been as successful as I was had I had a different training partner. We trained together our entire career, and it was always positive. No matter
those injuries outside the gym you talked about. You said you tore your quad slipping on concrete on painted concrete. What happened there? Yeah,
so I was stepping out of it was raining, and I was stepping out of a restaurant, and they had the handicap space there, and it was raining. It was super slick, and I stepped off the curb, and my foot just slid out in front of me, and there was a lip on the curb. My foot caught that lip as I'm sliding out, and of course you're trying to stop yourself from going down, but that concentric force just ripped the quad right off the bone and went down, and that was 2011, right? So 30 days out from the Olympia. I just got second and third at the Olympia, won the Arnold, and that was I'm laying there and the rain's coming down on me. I can't get up, and I'm just thinking, is this over? That's a bad deal.
Did you tear your tricep moving some stuff or something?
I tore my tricep. Same thing. I was walking down the stairs. I was trying to run downstairs to get the phone. We had wood stairs, and I had socks on, and I'm expecting a phone call, and you're running down the stairs, and I slip, and I go fall back to catch myself, and I caught myself right, and
there it is.
How about your horseback riding? We saw you in Generation Iron.
That wasn't the first time or the last time on that.
Did you get hurt? Did you get hurt in that filming of Generation Iron?
I actually pulled my groin a little bit. I hit my head, got a little knot, but honestly, if he had thrown me on the dirt instead of the concrete, it wouldn't have been no big deal.
What are the odds in that happening while the cameras are rolling? You're filming a documentary. What happened? Did the horse get spooked?
Yeah, so the film crew spooked the horse, and I'd already kind of told the guys to stay back, and they come up behind us anyway. And after I told them repeatedly to stay back because the horse wasn't digging all those cameras and microphones and stuff, he was getting kind of freaked out, and they spooked him, and so I got thrown.
What did you think about them leaving that in the movie? Did you care, or did it bother you? Or?
I was pissed because the guy, what's his name?
Yeah, we won't mention his name. We know who he is.
Yeah, he told me he wouldn't put that in there, and I told him, I said, I appreciate if you wouldn't, because I did get hurt. I couldn't pull my groin, and it could have been a bad deal. And he said, no, we won't put it in there. And then he sent Robin Chang over to me at the premiere in New York.
Yeah, to warm you up.
Told me they put it in there. And
those are slimy. Lee Priest did a documentary with him too. He didn't like the outcome.
Listen, that lended nothing. It lended nothing to the.
You give somebody your word, and then you don't follow through with it, and I'm done with you.
It didn't lend anything to the movie. I mean, that's clearly that should have been on the cutting room floor. But I got to give you kudos. One, you made comebacks from tearing every muscle in your body, and still got back on, and still won shows, and still got back to the Olympia. And nobody, it's obviously it's very difficult, but your work ethic actually helped you in that respect because you've got that never say die. Listen, I don't give a crap, you know what I mean? I'm just going to venture forward, quad, no quad, sew it back on, tape it up, get back in the game, coach, But I've also got to give credit where it's due, Sean. We always talk about bodybuilders of today, and they don't brand themselves properly. They're not a character of any kind of sort, or they got the wrong character. And Branch, you've always been true to yourself. I mean, listen, and I say this with of course, all due respect. Branch is a Texas, down home, out there hunting. I mean, what you see isn't a character. That's Branch. All right, that's what he does. He's got more guns than an arsenal right there. I mean, that's just what you do, bro. I mean, that's before bodybuilding and now after bodybuilding. But on stage, all right, you came out and listen. You weren't built like
Branch doesn't come out. He stomps
like
out.
Cedric McMillan, right? With the I've never seen you do this on stage. Thank God. There was no twirling. It was classic. In your face, most muscular,
hard driving.
To Kid Rock. But you know what? It fit your physique.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you never tried to be
Mariah Carey.
Yeah. That would have been good, bro.
You just got to be yourself, man. If you're yourself and you've got passion and purpose and you stick to your roots and your guns, and I think the people feel it and they respond to it. And that's who I am, So I'm not going to try to be something I'm not, It is what it is. You can like it or not like it.
Where's the family? How old's your daughter now?
She just turned 9 last 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Where's she at? Where's she at now? Is she in school or?
Yeah, she's in school right now. So actually, she's probably getting ready. She's just probably got dropped off of gymnastics.
Now, what about the wife? She was a fitness pro. Did she also do figure too?
She did figure and she did fitness.
And what is she doing?
And then her last, she actually did women's physique. There at the last year.
That's right. She made a comeback.
She just wanted to do something different.
Yeah. How was that for her? Because she took some time off.
What's that?
How was it for her, the experience of coming back and trying to do it?
She did the women's physique thing when it came out with it. I think Dana Lynn who just had won. And, I was retired. And so for her, it was the first time she got to be kind of first.
Yeah.
Because we were getting ready for the Olympia, the Arnold together, whatever shows it was. And she always put me first. And because, listen, I mean, the fact of sports, men make more than women do.
Right.
That's just fair or not fair. It's not really right because they work just as hard as we do. But the men get compensated many times more than the women do. So she always put me first, and when we were prepping, and put up with all my attitudes and everything else that goes along with it. And so when I retired, Trish loves to work out, and she really, the last several years of her career, she really did more cardio stuff and plyometrics than she did working out because she couldn't get any bigger.
Right.
And they just kept telling her don't get any more muscular, so she really couldn't lift weights, and she loves to lift weights. And she said, what do you think if I did women's physique? And I was like, I think you could do really good. And I said, if that's what you want to do. And so she did, I think, the Wings of Strength competition in Phoenix, and I got third place.
Yeah.
And
nice.
I think she beat a couple of the top 5 Olympians at that show, and Olympia was a couple weeks later. And then she did one more show, did Europa in Dallas, I think that next year. And she got, I think she got 4th or 5th. I can't remember.
Yeah, impressive.
And then that was it. She was like, you know what? I'm done.
But now you have the Branch Warren Classic. Are you guys working that together? Is that mostly you, or how's the competition go for you?
I got the Branch Warren Classic June 26th. It's back in Houston this year. We had to move it last year because of the COVID and everything else. So we still had the show. So I knew there were people training for the show, so I didn't want to cancel on them. So we still held the show, and even with limited, limits on capacity and everything else, we still did it just for the athletes. This year, back in Houston at the Energy Center, we've got over 200,000 square feet. We've got 11 events in addition to the NPC
Nice.
show and expos.
When you say 11 events, are they Like cheerleading?
He's
or
got everything.
powerlifting or-
Weightlifting.
Oh, okay, it's like a fitness fair.
Well, Bob's been the MC there for 2 years in a row.
I've done many brand.
Yeah.
By the way, good move back in Houston. I think that was a great spot for it, and you had a great following there. So I'm glad to see you back there. But it's a whole expo. I mean, it looks like a Europa. I mean, it's bodybuilding. It's CrossFit. Geez, you had a bench press.
We got jiu-jitsu. We got
strongman.
Bodybuilding.
Yeah, I mean,
bodybuilding show, CrossFit, jiu-jitsu, powerlifting, strongman, Olympic lifting, wrestling.
he even had guns.
You had a gun, like a gun show?
Yeah, I mean, there was
Yeah, we had everything. It's Texas, baby.
Texas.
yeah, it all goes there, but let me tell you, it was
Hey,
huge.
you might have snow skiing if the weather keeps going.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, you can add that in, Branch. But
Ice skating.
yeah, no, definitely keep us posted on the show stuff, and I know you've got other shows as well. But you've had many other businesses as well, Branch. I know at one time, I don't know if you're still doing it. You had a logistics company. You've got companies that you've paired up with. I know one recently, and. What was the other?
Bob likes to gloss over things. You paired up with a company recently. What is the
Well,
company?
hang on, I'm getting
What
there.
is you doing?
I'm getting there. Hang on, because I didn't want to leave
gotta
out.
help him.
I didn't want to leave out Wicked Cuts.
Okay, what is that?
Listen, for all see, that's why you ask, right? Wicked Cuts is the best beef jerky. Let me tell you,
Let me hear it from him. It's his product.
I visited Branch at his booth. We must have eaten 4 pounds of that orange teriyaki beef jerky.
Another plug for Bob to get free food. Tell us about the beef jerky.
It's great.
So yeah, I always had another business. You know, I'm not the kind of guy who can just sit around. And I knew some guys I competed with. You know, they went to the gym, they trained, did their cardio, whatever. They came home and watched Sports Center and played video games and just chilled all day. I would be divorced if I did that. So
Right. Yeah.
I'm just not somebody who could just sit around and just have that. So I had a gym for a number of years, and I sold that. And then my wife and I opened a freight forwarding company, a logistics company, and we had that business for 10 years. We sold it a few years back after 10 years, and that was 2 reasons. So as a bodybuilder, even if you're a top bodybuilder, as we all know, unless you make it to the top, you're not going to make any money, right? If you can make it to the top, those top spots and win the big shows, you can do well. But everybody else is not making any money. Number 2, you have a very finite period of time. You know, how long are you going to be on top? 5 years, 2 years, 10 years, maybe? You know, how long can you be there? And then the other thing is you get hurt and it's over. I mean, I suffered several injuries, any one of which could have ended my career. Well, even if you make it to the top and you stay there for a while, you're not making NBA money. You're not making $100 million. So you still got to work when you're done. So by having a successful business that we ran, then I never did worry about how we're going to keep the lights on and keep a roof over our head. And it kept me busy, kept me focused on something positive. And I knew one day, sooner probably rather than later, my career would be over. And I wanted to end it on my terms, hopefully, not because I just fell to the bottom and got forced out or got hurt. But when that was over, I wanted to have something to step right into. So we sold the logistics company, and then I retired. And then Scott James, who was the founder and owner of BSN, he lives here in Texas, and we got together and started talking, and he said, hey, I got an idea, and I want to do something with you. So we were on a flight together, actually, when we talked about this, and then got back to Texas, and he called me, and we sat down and had a meeting, and he said, hey, let's do a beef jerky company. I'm like, beef jerky? And, I'm thinking it's going to be something in the fitness industry again,
Right.
But I thought about it, and he said, he sold me on it, and I go, I don't know anything about it other than I like it.
Yeah.
He goes, well, you're going to learn. And so that was almost 4 years ago. So we've been in business. May will be our third year anniversary in business this May, and doing really well. We grew over 300% last year.
Nice.
So had an outstanding year. This year we're on track to do even better. And so it's been for me, it's a new challenge.
Yeah,
and
man.
For me, I need to be challenged to stay interested. Otherwise, I get bored real quick.
How about the hunting?
Focus.
Are you still, obviously not in the cold, but is hunting still a passion of yours? And where?
Oh, for sure.
How far do you travel to do this hunting?
So I was on a hunting show for 5 years back when I competed.
Are you like in Africa hunting, or where are you going to hunt?
What's that?
Where do you hunt at? Africa?
I hunt all over, man. Of course, Texas, you can hunt.
What are you hunting for?
All kinds of. What's that?
What do you hunt? Big game? What do you hunt?
Yeah,
Rhinos?
so we hunt those wild boars, wild pigs all the time.
Okay.
A deer. I go to Wyoming and New Mexico, hunt mule deer, elk, these kind of things. If I get a buffalo, I got a buffalo this year.
Wow.
So
where do you go to get a buffalo? I would think you got to go to Montana.
I had like 500 pounds of meat in the freezer, bro. So
Branch, where are you killing buffaloes at? Like Montana? Wyoming is the place. Yeah. Okay.
Good spot for buffalo.
Yeah, you got a ton of buffalo up there.
So, but that's the best meat you can get, man. Totally natural, no hormones, no drugs, none of that stuff. It's just wild, free range, animals, and it's the healthiest meat you can get.
We'll be looking for some buffalo beef jerky from Wicked Cuts. Coming soon, courtesy of Branch Warren.
It's on the way.
Yeah, see, I know this guy. See what I mean? But did you, before we let you go, Brent, did I see you just signed with a new company recently?
Yeah, so I signed with Apollo Nutrition here just at the end of 2020. So you got Robert and his crew, man, great guys. They're out of New Jersey, and I really wasn't looking to, do any more endorsement deals with supplement companies. But they reached out to me, got to talking. They've got some great products, and most importantly, just a great culture and great group of people to work with. So I signed with those guys, and it's going really well.
Well, Branch, we appreciate you taking a few minutes and bringing us up to speed on the life and times of Branch Warren. Good to see you're doing well, and give our best to the family, of course. And we'll see it as soon as the season opens up. I'm sure you'll be making the rounds at all the big shows, and of course the Olympia back in Orlando this year.
I'll be back in Orlando. Hopefully I'll see you guys before then. And also, you can always check me out on The Branch Warren on Instagram and Facebook, and go to www.wickedcuts.com and order some of my jerky, man. And one bite, and you'll agree it's the best damn jerky you ever tried.
You got it. All right. Branch Warren, back after the break. All right, we're back. Sean, Branch Warren, the stone cold of the bodybuilding industry.
Yeah, I didn't have the pleasure of competing with him. He was out, actually he arrived when I was already out of the game. But again, like you mentioned, he fared well because he had Jay Cutler. Very similar to maybe Kai and Phil. They needed each other, kind of like Ali and Frazier. They needed each other. If you take Jay Cutler out, I mean, we're talking to Mr. Olympia and Branch Warren if Jay Cutler's not there. And remember, Jay missed a couple of Olympias back in the early 2000s. But what he did with what he had is very Rich Gaspari-like.
Yeah.
We saw the potential muscularity-wise by himself. But what are you going to do with all that mass? And you put it on stage, and it's so freaky that you have to reward it. You could not ignore him.
You know what I like about Branch is he's so down to earth. He keeps it real. If you notice, he doesn't paint it anything different. He doesn't put lipstick on it. He just says, look, I was not the most genetically gifted guy in the world.
That helps.
But I had work ethic.
No, but it helps that he recognized that. He knew that.
Big time, because he knew he had to outwork these guys. Like I say, you heard him. These are guys, in his words, he should have never beaten. He knows they were better, quote, bodybuilders when it comes to just the overall development, how they're put together, how they flow genetically, but he outworked them all. And he beat, I mean, when he gave that list, I don't think people recognize all the top names. This guy beat everybody.
Yeah, he beat everybody, and he beat Jay too. So very few people can walk away from their sport and say, you know what, I beat everybody I competed against. I might not have been the best, but I beat them all. I didn't get that opportunity to say it. He's got bragging rights, but I think he's very content with what he accomplished, where his lot in life is. I mean, look, the guy tore his quad, he tore his tricep, he got knocked off the horse for the world to see in the, what was that, Generation Iron?
I think it was one of the Generation Irons,
Yeah, I don't know what movie it was, but here's a guy, again, he's able to take all of that and put those nickels and dimes together to create a life for himself and start a family and create a life after bodybuilding. Still making money today off of his physique.
Here's the cool thing. His work ethic, and because I've talked to Scott James from BSN, who's a very close friend of mine. I was with BSN before he sold it. And Scott's just a great person, great guy, genius businessman. He's made, obviously, a very good living for himself and his family. But he told me, he says, Branch's work ethic is exactly the same in business as it was in bodybuilding. This guy is in the office every day. He gets in early. He's in there for hours. He's making calls. He's doing his thing. He doesn't let up. So the way he is the way he is with everything, from his hunting to his business practices to his bodybuilding. So he's very complete.
Give perspective. I mean, the guy can't be 5'6", maybe 240 at his best, 250. Chunks of muscle, nothing real pretty about it. Again, he wasn't a physique artist. He'll never be
just in your face.
Just in your face.
Right.
The hard driving music. He was smart enough to know that the hard driving music complements his physique. Like you said, you get some guys, they get music behind them and it's just background noise. The noise that he put behind the physique seemed to bring you in, and you kind of look at him and you kind of make the ugly face as he's making the ugly face on stage, and he wins you over. You find yourself, cheering for this guy.
It's refreshing to see somebody embrace who they are, because we've seen plenty of the round peg in the square hole kind of thing, or however that works. But the problem with it is it doesn't fool anybody.
Yeah.
So when you get the guy out there who's got
Authentic.
the tiny weight, and he's out there doing most musculars and stuff over, it doesn't go. And it also doesn't go. Nothing is worse than the Marcus Rules type physique guy trying to be graceful.
Right.
All right. Look, forget about it. You're a
Fred
bull in a
Astaire.
China shop. Go out there and hit 10 most musculars and get off the stage.
done
You know what
with
I mean?
it. That's
Well,
right.
that's what the people want to see.
Yeah, it served him well, and he beat some of the best bodybuilders on the planet by being authentic and true to himself. He found a style that worked. He recognized when that window was closing and the game was changing. He moved on, and of course, he preserved himself in life after. Hopefully, he doesn't get hurt again, because he doesn't have the gym as an excuse. But you talk about a guy that can get hurt walking down a flight of steps. He's got to be careful.
Well, he's smart about it. As he said, he's down. He dropped 30, 40 pounds. He doesn't eat like an animal like he used to. And believe me, I've been with him when he's done some $150, $200 sushi dinners.
Crazy
For him.
Yeah.
That wasn't both of us.
Well, he don't look like he was
His
missing
part
any
was
meals.
$200 worth.
Yeah.
The whole table was filled. It was
But
crazy.
he's investing in his physique. I mean, look, some of these guys, they'll throw that food down there, but you got other guys that gamble it away or buy cars and
It takes a little while to cycle out. I mean, we were all there to different degrees. More for him, obviously, because he used to like banging those heavy weights.
Right.
It took him a year, and then he finally started to kind of cycle out where it's like, maybe I'm not going to grab the 140s today.
Yeah, and it probably helped him that he had a wife that had been there and done that. She knows what it's like to diet.
Yeah.
She knows what it's like to have the importance and the gravity of the Olympia stage, the focus, the selfishness, and she put up with all that. She's actually getting the best that he has to offer now in his retirement from the stage.
Well, it'll be great to keep up with Branch and many other greats on Monday Night Muscle. Sean, that's going to wrap it up for another great edition. For Sugar Sean, I'm Bob Chick. We're out.